Okay, the recording is started. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our final webinar on Module 4 and for this course. So this meeting is going to be it's being recorded, and by continuing to be in this meeting, you're all consenting to be recorded. So moving along, as soon as my screen works, of course. Yeah, adequates. Well, we are a small crowd here, and we the adequates. I don't need to kind of go through over them. Take all the liberties that you want to be on video, to go off mute and have to ask questions, all of that. You're absolutely okay with that. So we don't need to kind of follow each and every etiquette today. We are pretty good. Moving along. So today's agenda, we'll spend some time in talking about the careers in data science, to which you guys did a lot of research and a lot of searching of jobs. And I just want to, just bring it all together here and talk about, maybe add some more color to that whole discussion that have happened during the week. We'll talk shortly about linear regression. What I want to do most of the time is at least half of our meeting time want to spend on assignment 4, where both Yelena and I have, work around to demonstrate. And you guys can pick one of the two workarounds, especially if you are facing, and I believe, Don and Cindy, you both have faced issues working with correlation coefficient. And I believe many of your classmates would also fall in the same category. They may be having the same issue. So, if they're watching the recording, they would also get to probably know which option they want to choose. And then finally, take in any other questions that you may have, not just for module 4, but for this course, as well as for any other, courses that you'd be taking. If you have any general questions, we'll be definitely, Yelena and I would be able to help you with that. Okay. So what I want to start with is talking about the terms that sometimes get interchangeably used or loosely they're being used around. And the terms that I'm talking about are mainly business intelligence and business analytics, right? So first of all, let's understand what is business intelligence. First and foremost, business intelligence has been around for a long time. As long as the commerce has been around, as long as the companies, the data has been around, business intelligence has been around. And why do I say that? Because if there has been some data collection by the company or any kind of data, there was reporting being done, that were metrics being generated or built. There were KPIs and all of that. So we used to always kind of look at what happened, when, and how many. So all that dashboards, the scorecards, the monitoring has been something that has been going on for a long time. And of course, some of the newer tools has been helping with that as well, like MicroStrategy, there's SAS, there's Cognos, and many other tools and technologies has helped us to to gain that business intelligence that we need. But business intelligence primarily is focusing on looking in the past, what has happened. Business analytics is looking forward, which is asking questions to solve problems, right? And you can do that by asking more deeper questions like, why did something happen? Why did an event occur? Will it happen again? What will happen if we change, and so on? And for these purposes, for this business analytics, we've been using some statistical techniques and data mining, predictive analytics, and multivariate analysis, and so on. And for that, there are so many tools out there today, and a very few kind of listed here. But for ClickView and Tableau and R and many others that are there that may not be even listed here. But the point is that business analytics is forward-looking, right? Now, a data scientist is someone who is going to be having a knowledge of both business intelligence and business analytics. Someone who's going to bring these two together, someone who would have the ability to not just look into the past, but based on that also, get some insight for the future. And one of the reasons why, data scientists are also called unicorns, rare to find. And we'll know soon why it's rare to find data scientists, the true data scientists. But you guys are all getting there. All the knowledge base that you're getting today to become data scientists did not exist a few years back. And I'm not talking too long back. Even you guys are almost the first batch of folks who are kind of having an undergrad degree in data science, which did not exist before. So data scientists were pretty much being built, or their careers were made mostly on the jobs and not academically as much, right? When I say on the jobs, people learned how to build reports, how to do some statistical techniques. They used to, of course, there was some academic background with mathematics and statistics and some of that, data mining that was done in the past. But, what I'm saying is that it was more on the work kind of learning and some in the college, and the pure data science knowledge or that degree did not really exist. So they're really hard to find, but now, from going forward, I'm sure there will be many, many, many more. And this unicorn term would not probably even apply to the data scientist. But once again, this slide is made in the current times or even the past, where it's difficult to find someone with all the kind of different skill sets that's required. So if I look at just the terms, if I have to put all these together, a few of these terms on a single slide, data science would be on the top. You have business intelligence on one end, and business analytics on the other. Now, as we just talked, under business intelligence, you have your reports, your dashboards that you create on the data of the past. And then for business analytics, you typically used all tools and techniques, which falls under data analytics, which are all the tools, techniques, and technology that you would use for building that business or doing the business analytics. And where you'd be applying some data mining skills, some machine learning skills to do all of that for data analytics or for the overall business analytics. And this would all be when you're working on data or big data today. Today, I think, as much as I think most of the companies are generating, building, and capturing so much of data that it's no longer going to be just purely data these days, and pretty soon it would be big data. But yeah, this could be also just, it doesn't have to be big data all the time, but I'm just showing you, if I have to put all the big data and all the machine learning and everything in one slide, this is how I would kind of put in all the terms here. Okay. So what makes a data scientist? We just talked a little bit about it in the first slide, but if you have to just look at for different areas that that the data scientists need to be proficient in, then looking at this slide here on this diagram, on this picture here, right on the 4 o'clock, right at the 4 o'clock, which is on the top right bubble, is the knowledge of math and stats, right? Enough knowledge. And that's once I'm saying math and stats doesn't have to be like a very advanced knowledge in math and very advanced knowledge in stats, just enough to understand the techniques that you'd use for data mining and machine learning, right? Then you have on the bubble on the left, on the bottom left, computer science, right? And which skills like some scripting knowledge, some SQL, knowledge of Python and R and Scala and pipelines and big data, Apache Spark, and so on, right? Multiple skills that could also be gained as part of computer science. It doesn't have to be, under the realm of, the data science degree, but you could also use it, or you could just learn this outside of data science realm and umbrella and learn all these different skills. Then you have, most importantly, the bubble on the top, the domain expertise. right? I mean, you worked with a few data sets during this course, and you realized that to really work, to really cleanse the data and to use the data effectively, you need some help, right? Even in this assignment, you have to make some calls to kind of see, okay, what makes sense? What data could be retained? What data could be removed? What data could be cleaned? And how should it be cleaned, right? And unless you have the domain expertise, it's not going to be possible, right? So you would have to have some kind of a domain expertise, some knowledge about the data that is going to really help. And along with computer science skills, like for some kind of programming skills or skills of working with different tools and technologies, along with some math and stats, that's all kind of, when it comes together, is going to make a data scientist, right? So multiple skill sets is what is required for a data scientist, and not in a particular sense. If you have to expand this picture a little further, you could see that it could be put into different blocks here. Right from the top, if you go, it's from statistics, machine learning, then you have programming and computer science fundamentals, going clockwise, that is, visualization, and some of the off-the-shelf tools, some business and domain knowledge, some big data and cloud computing, which is kind of gaining a lot of speed and momentum, and something that you would also have to really focus on in future, because cloud computing is huge. A lot of companies are moving towards cloud, and a lot of your tools are moving to the cloud. So having some knowledge of cloud computing will certainly help. Then communication, storytelling, very important, right? You could have all these skills. You could do the best ever analysis that anybody could do. But if you're not able to present it well, you have lost half the battle right there. So that's how huge and how important your storytelling and communications is. Okay, so changing gears a little bit, I'm just showing you a visual from not too long ago. This is a visual from 2018. And just wanted to show you one of the things that was discussed a lot in the data scientist circles or in the data analytics circles were, hey, who do you think will win? Will Python be the language of the future for data science and data analytics project, or R will still remain the king and be the future language? And guess what? Fast forward to 2022, I can say that, and we can all say that both are equally important. Both are superheroes. If you have to use the analogy of superheroes, then R could be called as a Batman and Python a Superman, right? I mean, each have its own advantages, its own benefits, its own super features, lots of power. R has the benefit of being around for the longest time, for doing all these statistical techniques and statistical analysis in the past, whereas Python has all the benefit of being there for doing so many things. It's not just for data science, but for web projects, for other backend kind of a projects or backend kind of programming. Python has been a very heavyweight kind of a language. So each has its own advantages, benefits, and in today's world, having a knowledge of both these languages would certainly help. And the reason being, look at the R and look at our programming language. First of all, of course, both are open source, and R is an open source. That's number one. It's a complete statistical language. It's cross-platform compatible. There are multiple libraries, right? Thousands. I think 2,000 plus is still a very small number. I can tell you there's a bigger, much larger number than that today. Outstanding graphical outputs. You have a vast community. R has been around for years. And Python really took off like in the last 2 or 3 years, that it has really taken off and it took the the speed into building data language, or I'm sorry, the data's analytics packages that became, and it became very, very similar to R in terms of everything that R could do, Python could do, right? So that's how quickly R, rose into prominence and became the language today that it is. Learning R is fun and easy, very, very simple language. Trust me, if I could, start using it and without much help, without anything that anybody can really use that. It is very simple and yet very powerful. Um, and one of the things that were really looked for, if you had to apply for a data science, data analytics, or data analyst kind of jobs in 2017, 2018, one of the things that you'd be asked, hey, do you know R? And if the answer is no, trust me, people will be thinking, okay, where did you and how did you do your statistical analysis, right? Or how did you do all your data mining and machine learning stuff, right? Without knowing R. That's how powerful R was. And of course, there are other languages too, so don't get me wrong, but I'm just talking about the two big ones here. Now, Python, as once again, you know that Python is also around for a while, but it was used for other purposes and got a lot of, it got a lot of into data analytics in the last few years. Yet it's very easy, very expressive, free and open source. It's a high level language and portable. It's object oriented. It could be embedded into your HTML code. It's a large standard library and GUI programming, all of that, right? So if you've learned Python, I really don't need to kind of go over this again. I'm sure you already know about it, and you'll know more as you go and take some more courses, especially in data science or even in computer science, right? Or any other kind of analytics or analysis you're getting into, you would certainly get to know these two languages better. Okay, so let me stop here and ask if any questions thus far. Are you guys tracking with me?
No questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to change the gears again a little bit and talk to you about the roles, right? One of the things that you saw when you put in some search criteria, right? Whichever job websites that you went in, you put in certain criteria and it came up with all different job titles and roles. And what I want to just talk about certain roles and what each of these roles really mean. Although I would always advise you to ask some very good questions. And some of you have really done a fantastic job with saying or by mentioning some of the questions that you would ask to get a good clarity on what the role entails. But in general, right, a data engineer's role is to develop, construct, test, and maintain architectures, right? So it's someone like a database developer who would know languages like SQL or Hive or Pig or and all of that, and of course having a good knowledge about database systems and data modeling, right? And what you see they're hired by certain companies is just a very small sample companies who kind of hire data engineers. So it's just a small sample there of companies who are hiring people in this particular role. Now you have data architects who go a little above or who do something beyond being a data engineer. And then their role is to create a blueprint for data management systems, to integrate, centralize, protect, and maintain data sources. Someone who would not just be looking at one single database or develop scripts for databases, but would kind of go beyond to say, okay, what's going to be the design? How are we going to integrate all the database in this organization or in this company? What are all the database going to be? And what kind of architecture are we going to have? What kind of a framework are we going to have? And that's what the data architects do. Okay. And once again, the companies that hire data architects, and the Visa and Coca-Cola and Logitech and so on. Then you have DBAs, I'm sure you must have heard about DBAs, and this role does not need a lot of, information to be provided because you already know about it. And, someone who's, maintaining and managing databases, right? An administrator being as an administrator, providing the backup and recovery of databases, doing the data modeling, doing the data security and all of that is someone who's a database administrator. Then you have a data analyst, right? Once again, this role is used interchangeably. Once again, I've seen it being used, or you would see the job ads for data analyst, and it could be really, if you read through all the requirements, it appears like a data analytics kind of a person having the knowledge of machine learning and all of that, which is kind of required, or statistics. So you have to be careful when you are going in for a data analyst interview. You don't want to assume that it's a role that would have all the the flavor of data scientist, right? Or the flavor of having all the tools and technologies that you think that you could be working with. So be careful. Once again, asking good questions in the interviews is really going to provide more clarity. But this is the role which I've seen many companies also use to hire their data scientists in the company. So, and some of the companies like IBM and HP and DHL and many more companies are hiring data analysts, as you may already know. Then there's business analyst, who is not just acting as a data analyst and focusing on a particular set of data, or the database, or what's the data flow within a certain area or a functional unit, but a business analyst kind of goes about to look at the entire business process, right? Or multiple business processes and how they interconnect with each other, right? So that's the role of a business analyst, and sometimes their role is also to look into all the nuances of the processes and look at where the processes could be improved and how they could be changed, and so on and so forth. Then you have the good old statistician. This is one particular role, I would say, which has got the maximum clarity of what the job would be, and what tools and technologies that you'd be making use of, what kind of skills could be expected from you, what kind of talent that could be required. And so very, very clear when companies are hiring statistician. They've already made it very clear what they're going to be expecting of you. Whereas the others, you really have to be careful and also ask some good questions. Okay, not that you don't have to ask for this one, but I'm just saying this role has got the maximum clarity in terms of the expectations from a potential employee. Then you have a data and analytics manager, someone who would manage a team of analysts and data scientists. Once again, some clarity here, another role that has got some clarity of the work that you would do. The only more clarity that would be needed is, what kind of analysts are you going to be working with? What amount of data science is going to be involved? Are there going to be involvement of data scientists, and what level, right? That's where you would need some more clarity. But otherwise, it's kind of clear that you would be managing a team pretty much. Then you have a true data scientist. And now a lot of companies are also hiring, with this label and role called data scientist, where you would be required to know. Once again, think about all the skills that we talked about, look at all the different domain areas, and all the once again, what languages and what tools, technologies that you would have to know in order to apply and work as a data scientist. Now, when I say all that, and I know one of the chatter in the discussion was, hey, I see all these jobs, and each of these jobs are like, they need 3 years experience, they need 5 years experience, they need 7 years, or they need 2 years. How am I going to even apply for these jobs? And my answer to you is very simple. Do not get discouraged by what you see. Think about it. Let's say you are probably living in a home, like you own a home, or you're renting an apartment, or whatever that would be, and you have probably you want to do some kind of repairs in your home, or maybe some kind of maybe some improvement in your home, and you're probably looking for a contractor. What would you do? Let's say you want to rebuild your kitchen right in your house. When you go out, you're going to look for a contractor who's got as many years of experience as possible, because you want to get the best job done. And you say, okay, I will look for someone who's got the most experience. Let me go out and see if I can find someone who's got a lot of experience. But then when you go out, you find out that yes, there are some people who may not have 10 years and 15 and 20 years experience, but maybe a little less experience, but they really charge a very reasonable rate. And maybe you want to hire them. Maybe you can trust them, right? So that's exactly what happens in the job market, right? They would put in all these different advert ads for jobs, and for people needing 10 and 15, or I'm sorry, 2 or 5 years or 7 years experience. But when they come on the table and then they talk with you, they interview you, that's when they're going to find out that, yes, okay, I get it. This person may not have all the experience, but has got all this lot of economic knowledge, has taken a degree in certain area, and that's going to be useful. This person has got the drive to learn more, to gain a lot of experience at work, and use that, and use all that learning, and then definitely will going to do well. So I think all those things are also being looked at, and during any job interview for any position, and there's nothing different for a data scientist role. So do not get discouraged in applying for these jobs. I know you can always try. Yes, if it doesn't go all the way, fine. But you would want to kind of get into those interviews, as many as you can, in order to know, what's the expectation for these jobs, right? What kind of skill set, what gaps do you see that you need to fill in, or maybe you can fill in very quickly, right? And so that's I would say this is my 2 cents here, and my advice to you all: do not get discouraged, and apply and look for jobs irrespective of what it could be expecting. Of course, I'm not saying apply for a senior data scientist job as soon as you're out with a data science degree, because yes, they might be really looking for some experience under the belt, because they may be requiring you to build some of the processes or manage teams and so on, where you may not have all that experience. But of course, for the other, for data scientist roles, you can definitely apply, and you should apply. Okay. So changing gears. So showing you this, Gartner's Magic Quadrant. I don't know if you know about Gartner's Magic Quadrants. And one of the things that Gartner's do is get into a lot of research, and it has got they do it into a variety of industries, into a variety of fields, and every year they come up with Magic Quadrants showing all the the companies and tools that are in the top of the line. And as you can see here, there are 4 different quadrants here. On the x-axis is the completeness of vision. I know how visionary are these companies, right? Our ability to execute is what is the power of execution by the companies, and that's on the y-axis. And based on that, the top right quadrant are the leaders, the top left quadrant are the challengers, the bottom right are the visionaries, and the bottom left are the niche players. And if you look at this 2018, you would see that NIME was at the forefront and one of the top players in the data and amongst all the data science and machine learning platforms. And IBM and Microsoft, look at them, they were in the visionaries category, but yeah, of course, they were rising quite rapidly. And as you can see, they were very much high up on that list there. And so were MathWorks and TIBCO Software, And there are a few that we kind of missed out on when this 2018 list was come up. And by the way, this is not the complete list of all tools, companies, whatever you'd call, and platforms that were out there. These are all the top platforms that we're talking about. Now, fast forward to 2021, look at what happened. IBM became the leader. As you can see that IBM is towards the right and toward the top, making them the leader of the pack in terms of data science and machine learning platforms. There were a few more that got added to this list, like DataRobot and Google and Amazon Web Services. They all joined the bandwagon, right? Now, we'll take it to 2022, but what happened in 2021, because of these platforms and this whole industry having matured over the years, this was 2021 was the final year or the last year for the Magic Quadrant for data science and machine learning platforms. They just retired this particular area, this particular quadrant, and they came up with a newer quadrant which is called now analytics and business intelligence platforms. Now, the difference between the two is what you see here, the data science and machine learning platforms, but typically any platform, any tool that just had the power and capability of working the data science and machine learning projects. That's what was all that was looked at, right? And who were the leaders? Once again, this was coming out of a lot of survey of different companies and individuals who were in data science and machine learning and using all these different tools and platforms. Now, once this kind of evolved and matured, the analytics and business intelligence platforms are kind of the platforms that may not be just used by only data scientists, but even just not so tech savvy business leaders who could use, or business people who could use these platforms with ease and do all kinds of stuff, not just the data analytics like machine learning or data mining, but even visualizing the data, exploring the data. So finding out all the and making sure that this platform would have all the tools and technologies to support that, and the ease of using that. And as you can see here, currently with Microsoft, it came up with a suite of tools that really helps in this particular space. They have not only come up with tools to do all that, they have got the cloud tech computing, and a lot of stuff on cloud computing, their Azure platform. They've got the Microsoft 365 and all those other communication tools and technique. It's a suite of tools that they've come up with that has made up this, whole analytics and business intelligence kind of a platform. And they're way, way ahead and far ahead of many others. But there are others that got added here. Look at Tableau, Salesforce, Click, MicroStrategy. These are all the ones that have got added to these platforms. And who have got dropped? The companies like and tools like NIME and DataRobot and H2O, because they focused on, in order to use these tools, you would really have to know some techniques. You have to be really tech savvy, data science savvy in order to really make use of these tools, right? But for the others, it wasn't, as I said, the ease of use was one of the important things for this particular platform. So in order to come up and to be a leader here, it had to really have a proven set of or suite of tools that could be easily used by business people. Okay, so that's about the everything about the data science career, the platforms. I hope this helped and supplemented what you kind of learned and what you found out and what you discussed with your classmates. Any questions before we change gears here? Okay, so and I know in the interest of time, I'm going to skip through a couple of slides, but this is just kind of talking about, and maybe I'll just skim through very quickly here a couple of slides, and then we'll get into talking about assignment 3 and the workaround that we were talking about. But you learned about, a simple regression. And simple, why did you do a simple regression? It's because based on your predictor variable, which is quantitative, and if you have an outcome variable, which is quantitative as well, you can, and if the predictor variable is only one, then you can go with the simple regression, right? If you have one predictor variable and one outcome variable, then you can simply go for simple regression. But if it more than one predictor variables, meaning independent variables are multiple, right, which happens in most of the cases, then you would use multiple regression. So I just used a couple of this infographics. Actually, you must have gone through in your reading. So I just like this infographics and just wanted to make it part of this presentation deck. So it's there up with you, and you can always have it and read through it. But they're really good infographics that really gives you a very good high level explanation of what a simple linear regression is and an example for that. Along with that, I had actually a couple of videos one on linear regression in Excel and multiple regression in Excel. And I know for the time, I have to kind of skip this, but I will have it still part of the deck. So whenever you get this deck, you will be able to click on it. This first one here, how to do simple regression in Excel, is I think it's a 14 to 15-minute video. And then the next one, the multiple linear regression, is a 7-minute video. Okay, so if you're not familiar with doing simple linear regression or any kind of regression in Excel or some analysis in Excel, this could be wonderful videos to kind of go over. Okay, so we'll skip this for now, and we'll go straight into our discussion about assignment, which is kind of, this is an assignment that is, bringing everything together that you've learned during this course, right from data preparation to data visualization, all the different techniques for data preparation, all the different, visualizations that you learned about during the last module. And in this module, you're learning about one of the most simplest yet very powerful and very popular technique called linear regression. And what is required for this assignment is where you would do the exploratory data analysis, you would analyze your data for relationships or trends, you would create 3 visualizations, you have to use the template to answer questions about the data anomalies and your findings. You need to create a linear regression model and to perform the prediction, and then you have to write a letter to your future students. So basically, you are asked to submit 3 files. One is a letter to the future student, the Word document, the assignment document that has been given to you, provided to you in the assignment folder, and then a PowerPoint export from the Power BI service, something that you did in the last assignment as well. So all these 3 files are required to be submitted at the same time for this particular assignment, okay? And please go over the rubric for this assignment. I don't want any of you to lose any points, but go for the maximum 100 here. It is, as I said, it is bringing together everything that you've learned. Keep in mind all the feedback that you've received from me. Anywhere where you may have lost points in the past, think about all that, and I look for great submission from you, and submission that can fetch you the maximum points. Okay, now we'll kind of talk about the issue that you're facing with the coefficient correlation, but let me just quickly, before that, summarize what we went through today. We talked about some of the terms and terminology used in data science or in data analytics, and so on. Some of the terminology that's used, some of the terms, clarified them. We looked at the skills of data scientists. We talked about R versus Python. We talked about a few roles. We looked at the magic quadrant, Gartner's magic quadrant. And there were a couple of infographics. And of course, we did kind of skim through very quickly, knowing that you would have already gone through it for your reading as part of your reading material. But then there are a couple of videos that I'm going to leave here on this deck for you to kind of take a look at as when I get a chance, okay? Or if you already know about how you can do linear regression Excel, you can skip it. So, but this is for someone who has never done that or wants to know more about the linear regression in Excel or multiple regression, okay? So before we go to talk about the coefficient, correlation coefficient issue, any questions you guys have? For whatever we covered so far for the course or for the future courses or anything in general? Any questions, Cindy or Don? Or anyone, sorry. I saw a few more people join. Passion, Rihanna, you guys have any questions? Okay, I'm going to take a silence as no, and so we'll move on to our problem of the day, the problem for this assignment, or problem of the week, I should say. Okay, so one of the issues that I'm hearing is that when you are bringing your, or we are trying to build a correlation coefficient, that particular number, when you're trying to work on that particular step, nothing is really happening, and you don't see anything come back. You don't see any visual being added, or any measure that's being added to your data set that you can pull into your into your Power BI page. So there are two workarounds. One is you can use the virtual lab of UMGC and use the Power BI version in the virtual lab, which I'm going to just quickly demonstrate to you. But you can use that, or the second option is what Yelena is going to demonstrate next. On if you have a local version and you still want to keep using that, then there is a little kind of a twist you need to have. You need to take one more step in order to get that correlation coefficient. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this deck, and I'm going to share my screen to show you the virtual environment, virtual lab environment. By the way, how many of you are familiar with the virtual lab environment? Has anybody used it? Can you guys, can any of you?
This is Dawn. I used it briefly this afternoon to get this correlation coefficient.
Okay, very good. Then you're ahead of it. Probably you can also tell us how you did it, but I'll just show it. But if there's anything missing, or if you did it in a different way, please chime in. Okay, anyone else? So it's only, I heard only Dawn kind of using the virtual lab, right? Okay, so let me just go there. And guys, it's very simple. And that's the reason why I'm showing it as one of the options you may have. So let me share my screen. And if I can only get my screen here. Okay, so which one? I'm just looking for, okay, maybe I can use my desktop instead. Okay, let me share that. Okay, so I hope you're all able to see my Chrome browser, and I'm going to go into UMGC Virtual Lab. Okay. And if you guys like this particular workaround, and if you don't know how to get in, I can definitely share the link. But as you can see here, I'm just going to enter it using the usual login ID and password. So there is nothing different that you need to do. So once you get in here, sometimes you may not see the Power BI desktop very easily. So you can come here and search for this app in case Power BI doesn't show up anywhere here when you scroll through all the different applications. I've just made this as my favorite, some of the applications that I may use in this virtual environment. So, and I go on to Power BI desktop. So just starting the desktop here. It takes a few seconds to a minute or so to start up. But once you get there, once it gets started, it's pretty quick. Use few more seconds. Okay, I think you're right there. So, all right, I'm going to close this. First thing you may want to do before you start is you will have to upload your data, okay? So you cannot just get your data and think that you can just get it from your local machine. The way to do it is you have to upload the data, and then you can say like, okay, I've got my data here, or maybe one of the files here. So you can get your file from your machine. This is my local tab here from a downloads folder or any folder where I have the assignment file or the data file. I upload it and it will put it into the documents folder here. So very simple process, but you have to kind of go through that, load this into this particular virtual lab environment. And once you've done that, then you can then, let's say I can then get my data and I say Excel workbook. And as you can see here, I have got this assignment 4 student files. I have put all these data files that you see here have been, this document is not the documents of my local machine, my Mac machine, but it's the documents folder in the virtual lab environment under my account. So I'm just going to click on assignment 4 student files, and this is straight from the assignment. So I haven't done any kind of cleanup or anything. So I'm just going to load it as is. And this is because I want to show it to you very quickly what could be done here and how easily it could be done. So as you can see here, the student survey data set is being already loaded. And now I want is a scatter plot. So I get the scatter plot. Okay. Got the scatter plot here. And I want to bring in my grade in as the y-axis. And I want to bring in the total minutes spent on my x-axis. And I want to make sure that I'm not computing. I'm not summarizing them. So I just don't summarize. Well, right now you see that it's kind of showing, it's not spread out as you would have thought it would have, because there is one particular data row that's in there, which is still in there with the grade of 110 that skews up everything. So for the time being, I'm going to, once again, you don't have to do this step. You can do it in a different way and what is expected. I'm just doing it to show you, basically the correlation coefficient, okay? So is less than or equal to 100. So I'm going to just ignore that one particular row there. And I would leave it to you what you need to do there, okay? That's part of the assignment. So I'm not going to give it away. But here I'm adding a trend line. So there's a trend line, okay? So this is the step you were asked to do. And in addition, you were asked to take the quick measure. So you add a quick measure. And then here, I hope I'm not going too fast, guys. Are you able to all follow me? Is this speed okay? If not, please speak up. I'll definitely go slower. Okay, so I just picked up the calculation of correlation coefficient. And here, once again, I'll take grade. I'll put it in as measure Y. I'll take total minutes spent as my measure X. And here, you are forced to use a category. And I know Don asked a wonderful question, a great question here. Why do you have to do that when you're trying to get the relation between two variables, why is Power BI forcing you to bring in a third variable? So Power BI is the way it measures the relationship between two variables. It's under a context or under the realm of a variable, right? So it's trying to measure these two particular variables or the relationship between these two variables, keeping in mind or in the realm of the study sessions, how do these two variables relate? Because as per Power BI, two variables would relate to each other in different ways under the realm or context of other independent variables. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I instead of attend study session, if I say years in school here, it will change the relationship. And it's because, as I said, this relationship, it is showing based on the category or based on the context that you're using. Okay. In this case, we are using the context attend study session. So Don, I hope I answered your question. But that's what Power BI is making us do, and that's the rationale behind why it is making us do that. Okay, so I click on OK, and as you can see, it's working on it, and you get this page which you're supposed to get, which I believe does not happen if you've got the latest version of Power BI now installed or updated on your machine. And that's what people would get into an issue saying, oh, I did not see this window at all. But once again, the version that we have on the labs is the version that's been around, and it's not been updated, and it will get updated later after the course is completed. It will, but I'm just saying right now it works for what you need to do. And so once you get that, yeah, I've not changed the name of it. It's still, the name should be changed. I missed out on doing that, and I can quickly rename it. I can quickly call it as, okay, I'll just put it some name here, and I would just say, okay, and bring it up here. And I bring it up here, it will come up as a chart. I can, just change this chart to a card, and it will give me correlation coefficient. Once again, I just use the data as is. The number is going to be different than what you get. And the reason being, or maybe this number is different. Once again, I need to bring in I need to filter what I did filter on previously with I think I did it with the grade, right? So let me bring in the filter of grade here, and also do the same, less than or equal to 100. I'm just filtering out that row, okay? And then I get this correlation coefficient, which I know that it shows that it is perfectly related under the context of attend study sessions. If I change that, this number is going to change, okay? But that's just what, based on what Power BI has. And I know in your assignment, you've been given a sample or example of, how you want to calculate or what is to be calculated and how you would fill in the two tables for the value of Y, okay? But so this is working, guys. If you want to make use of the virtual environment, I would say, it's as easy as it's usual Power BI. There's no big change. The only change is to bring in the data file onto a virtual lab and then open up the Power BI. Okay. So any questions before I turn it over to Yelena to show the workaround for your local desktop environment?
Well, I actually did that on a VDA environment. I did that on both winners.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Yelena.
It's just a different plot type, nothing else.
Right, exactly. Okay, so let me stop sharing and hand it over to you.
Start. Oh, Where do I share here? I forgot. Oh, here it is, share screen. Okay, I'm gonna think of what's going on. Okay, oh, too many things open, all right? So now I'm gonna go here. So here is the data, right? I uploaded the same data that you're using for assignment. I also did not do any cleaning. Well, maybe because I was lazy. Okay, now this is what I just did here. You notice that you're not limited to all of these visualizations, right? What you could do is you could get more visuals here, get more visuals. And what I did was in a search here, I could type correlations, right? Correlations plot. There we go. And this is a plot. What I just do is I click on add, okay? Now, okay, it says importing custom visual, but sometimes you could be also prompted if you want to allow scripting. You just say yes if you get prompted. Okay, now, but this right away it's not gonna work because it's built on top of R language, right? And there is a package that you need to have installed for this to work. So this is what I did to call RStudio. I just click here. See this enable script visuals, I just say enable. Now, as a purpose, I'm trying to launch the RStudio, right? So I clicked on, oh, I clicked here and it did it. So let me see. Just for the sake of it. So once I add something, oh, now it's enabled. I just had to add at least one column. Now, let's do this. Take a look at this. I'm gonna do edit script in internal external IDE, right? And that will open up the RStudio. But don't worry much about, all I had to do is just one line of code, okay? Oops. Do you want to close? Okay. Oops. Remind me later. Well, what it did was it just saying that I'm not using the oldest version, that's all. But that's okay. Now, I wrote down the command that you're gonna need to run, and I have those high-level steps in here because I was gonna do. So see, I'm gonna send you this if you want to, but see this, it's just one line of code that you need to run. Install packages correlation core plot. So that just here, right? Okay, you just paste it in here and you're gonna click enter. You're gonna see some warnings, but don't worry. Okay, so this is a console window. That's a window where you run the code, right? That's it, it's done. Now you can exit the R. All right, it's done. I go back, I can close this thing here and I can delete this visualization, right? I can delete it, no longer need it, or, okay. Oops, okay, or I can just go back to the new tab. Now I want to do the actual correlation plot. This is what you can do. You can just do drag and drop. Oh, oops. Okay, here we go. Now what you can do is you can just select the columns that you want to visualize, right? I'm just gonna do the grade and what was the total time spent, total minutes spent. So that's what it is, right? And I can expand this. Well, do you see that the color code here tells the correlation strength. So it's like it's an estimate more like less, right? So see this and the grade, and this is the total minutes, the grade, and the total minutes spent. So you're looking at this one here, okay? Now what else you could do, but this is overall, right? But remember that you were looking at what? You were looking at the
10 study session.
right.
Yeah.
So what you could do is this. What is that?
Yeah.
This one, right?
Yeah.
I can go ahead and drop this in here, and then I can just select one value at a time and see how my correlation changes. Do you see that? So this is for a no, right? It's more like here. You want to look at this color code because See, this one is going to be a 1 because it's a column with itself, right? So you want to ignore the diagonal and look outside the diagonal here. Or I can do this, right? I can do yes, or I can do no, right? Or I can do all of them. But see here, the problem is if I don't drill down this problem, this one row is a problem. So you probably have to fix the data before you do this, okay? But does it make sense? I hope it does. And this just gives you correlation, but you can add, well, you're not limited to only 2 columns. You can add years in school. See that what it does, it's gonna add another column and another row here. And you can add, well, I guess you don't, well, usually you want to add the numeric ones. I guess that's it, right?
Yeah.
Well, scissors you can add. I have a 3 just in case here, and see it shows. So basically what I was trying to tell you, not limited to what you see here. You can add more advanced charts. Okay.
So
But
guys,
yeah.
you have 2 of these workarounds that you can make use of. So thank you, Yelena, for showing this part here. And if you have that, the word instructions, if you can send it over to me, I'll just, share it in the classroom in any case. But you can still come back here and watch this recording to
Yeah.
see how, we kind of did this.
Mhm.
And, as I said, you don't have to really do the R way if that you find it a little complicated, but you can still do the way it has been
Mhm.
written in the assignment by coming to the virtual lab. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stop sharing, right?
So Cindy, I'm sorry, Don, did you find anything different? Were you able to do the same steps that I just first showed before?
Yeah, the result I got was the same as
Yeah.
yours.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean that's how it is. That's because we are taking the context of a 10 study session, and that comes in as 1. So no, that's absolutely fine, Don.
Yeah. So I just stop sharing, right?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's more than one way to do this.
Yep. I absolutely. But yeah. So let me just go back and just bring my screen again to see if. Oops. Where did my? I'm sorry. It should not have shown you. Okay. All right. So back to our deck. Any questions, folks, before we call it a wrap? Yep. Go ahead.
So when I do try pulling up the R coding, it does say to download I don't know, mine it doesn't give me the same page as her. It went to Visual Studio.
R
Oh,
Studio.
yeah. I saw that, Cindy. Yes, I know you kind of shared that by
Are you
email.
doing it on VGA or are you doing it online?
Um,
Oh, I'm wondering if the applications that you can access are the same as what I can access. Oh yeah, it's quite possible because I TA the graduate stuff, grad school, and I have access to R. But I don't know. I'll need to look at your account what you have access to.
So Cindy, can you just try what we just did the first time, which is going through the virtual labs and doing the same steps as the assignment?
yeah, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, just
Because the
try
other
that.
way I've tried so many different ways and it does not work for me.
Yeah, I suggest that just go to virtual labs and for this assignment and do all that you can do there. As I said, I just simply did few visuals. I did key influencers, all of that. But for the sake of time, I just showed you only the scatter plot part, but everything else kind of worked, and it's been working because the version that you may have on your desktop would have been upgraded very recently, right? I mean, sometimes you have those
Yeah.
auto upgrades going on. So that's what may have happened, but that's okay.
Oh, Are you using your desktop? Okay,
Yes,
got you.
Yeah.
yes,
Because you
yeah.
you need to have the R installed and R Studio installed, which is already installed
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
GA.
that's why I'm saying it could get a little complicated if you are in the desktop version, and if you don't have our studio in your environment, it's going to open up another environment for you. That's what happened with Cindy.
Mm-hmm. Because my assumption was she's using the VGA.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, I kind of guessed it that she may be using her own environment, because I did not see that kind of visuals. Even if you don't have permission for our studio, which I believe you get access to all applications that are out there as long as you can see them. I didn't see an issue. So that's why I thought, maybe it's the desktop environment. But anyway, I suggest that anyone who kind of have already experienced this, or you think you may get into that, your Power BI version was updated recently, just go to the virtual lab and do it, guys. Very simple. And if you need, I will kind of plug in the, when I sent out the recording announcement, I will share the document that Yelena had, and I'll also share the virtual lab link in case you need that. Okay, but you should have it. But this is just again, in case you're looking for it, I will kind of make it handy for you. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, silence is golden. But guys, this was the last webinar. I hope you guys all enjoyed this course as much as I did working with you all. Great class, guys. I mean, and I'm not saying this for the sake of, but seeing all the discussion, all the chatter, all the feedback that you guys gave each other on your posting, on your discussion posting, really, really awesome. Okay, so keep up the good work. Good luck with assignment 4. If you need any help, please do not wait. Put in a ticket right away so that Yelena, can take a look at it right away, can help you and start helping you right away. If you don't see any message coming back from her, think that there could be an issue with her seeing the ticket. She's very, very quick. Most of the time I've known she'll be very quick. In case you need to kind of, make sure that it is going to reach the ticket, send in the ticket number to me and Yelena, right? Say, hey, I just put in this ticket, hope you see it. So even if she doesn't see it, or if something is not right in the ticket, she can still pull it up with the number that you provide her. Okay. All right. So with that, sorry, folks, we went a little over, but I hope, it was all helpful with the last, the issue step that we were all going and working together. But thank you all again. Nice working with you. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Okay. All right. Take care.
Thank you,
night.
Lanesh and Elena.
Okay. Bye.